My name is Rachel Bennett. I'm 34 years old, and I work as a pediatric occupational therapist at Mercy Children's Clinic in Columbus, Ohio. My younger sister, Melissa, always said I worried too much, but worry comes naturally when you've spent your career helping frightened children feel safe. Looking back, I think the first warning wasn't the hospital call. It was the paper crane. My 8-year-old niece, Lily, folded one from pale blue construction paper the afternoon before everything fell apart. She pressed it into my hand and whispered, "Keep this until Mom comes home." I slipped it into my wallet without realizing that at exactly 7:42 p.m. the next evening, that tiny crane would mean more to me than any promise my sister had ever made. Months later, I would stand outside a courtroom holding the same faded paper crane, wondering how something so light could carry so much weight. Here's what Melissa never understood about that night, or about the years that quietly built toward it. Emergencies don't reveal who people are. They simply remove the excuses that used to hide them. In our family, love was measured in departures. Whoever left first for something more exciting somehow became the most important person in the room. Melissa had always been that person. If she canceled dinner because of a beach trip, everyone adjusted. If she forgot birthdays because she was busy, people laughed it off. If I rearranged my work schedule to help someone, it was simply expected. Nobody ever announced these rules. We all absorbed them until they felt as natural as breathing. The paper crane became my own silent measurement of what mattered. Lily started folding them when she was 6 after I taught her an origami activity during one rainy Saturday. Whenever she felt nervous, she would make another crane and hand it to someone she trusted. "Then I don't have to carry all the scary by myself," she used to say with complete sincerity. I kept every single one in a small cedar box beside my bookshelf. There were 19 before the week of the vacation. Lily wasn't loud or demanding. She loved strawberry yogurt without the fruit chunks, checked library books out faster than she could finish them, and insisted on saying goodnight to every stuffed animal before sleeping. She noticed things adults ignored. She remembered birthdays without reminders. She thanked waitresses by name. She apologized when she accidentally stepped on someone's foot even if they hadn't noticed. Being around her felt like standing in warm sunlight after a week of rain. The uncomfortable truth is that I helped keep our family system alive. Whenever Melissa forgot another school event, I quietly filled the gap. When relatives complained about her, I defended her by saying she was overwhelmed or exhausted. When Lily asked why her mom missed another recital, I always found softer words than the truth deserved. I convinced myself I was protecting everyone. What I didn't understand then was that protecting someone's feelings can slowly become protecting their behavior. And once that happens, everyone else begins paying the price. 3 weeks before Melissa left for Aruba, we sat around my parents' dining room table making plans. She had booked a 7-day vacation at the Coral Sands Resort with 2 college friends. Lily would stay with me while school was out because my apartment was only 12 minutes from her dance studio and 20 minutes from Children's Memorial Hospital, where her pediatric specialist was located if anything unexpected happened. I didn't leave anything to assumption. On Tuesday, June 3rd, at 6:18 p.m., I sent Melissa a text that read, "Just confirming, if Lily has any medical emergency, you'll take the first flight home. Right?" She answered 4 minutes later. "Of course. That's not even a question." 2 days later, while my parents were loading dishes into the dishwasher, I brought it up again. "So we're all on the same page?" I asked. "If anything serious happens, Melissa comes home immediately." Dad nodded before Melissa could answer. "Obviously." Melissa laughed as though I'd asked whether the sky was blue. "I'll come home if I have to." Even then, something about the way she emphasized have to stayed with me. The night before she flew out, I asked one final time while Lily was brushing her teeth upstairs. "You've got travel insurance, right? If you need to leave early." Melissa rolled her suitcase toward the front door and smiled. "Rachel," she said, shaking her head. "You always imagine the worst." Then she gave the line I would hear again later. "Don't make problems before they exist." Everyone chuckled except me. I remember forcing a smile because I didn't want Lily overhearing another disagreement between her mother and me. Melissa hugged her daughter the next morning at 8:05 a.m., promised she'd be back before the following Friday, and reminded Lily to behave for Aunt Rachel. Lily slipped another folded paper crane into her mother's carry-on pocket. Melissa thanked her without unfolding it. For the first 4 days, everything was ordinary. Melissa texted pictures of turquoise water, pineapple drinks, and sunsets. Lily attended dance practice, helped me bake blueberry muffins, and counted down the days until her mom returned. Every evening before bed, we checked the weather in Aruba together because she thought it was funny that the island stayed warm while Ohio cooled into the low 60s. Looking back, I realized how carefully I had prepared for every imaginable emergency except the one that mattered most. I had copies of Lily's insurance card, medication schedule, emergency contacts, and medical records neatly organized inside a bright yellow folder beside the kitchen phone. What I didn't have was a backup plan for a mother who would decide that paradise was more important than coming home. And when that moment finally arrived, every written promise, every witness, and every reassurance would suddenly become evidence of something far more painful than simple forgetfulness. The call came on Monday at 7:42 p.m. I was drying dinner plates when my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. "Is this Rachel Bennett?" a calm voice asked. "Yes. This is Dr. Karen Whitmore from Children's Memorial Hospital. Lily collapsed during dance practice about 30 minutes ago. She's stable, but we'd like you to come immediately." The plate slipped from my hands and shattered across the kitchen floor. The bright yellow emergency folder was still sitting exactly where I had left it beside the refrigerator. Next to it was the little welcome banner Lily and I had painted the day before. "Welcome home, Mom." Blue letters. Tiny handprints. A smiling sun in the corner. For one impossible second, I stood between broken ceramic on the floor and that cheerful banner on the wall, unable to move. Then I grabbed the folder, my keys, and ran. By 8:19 p.m., I reached Lily's hospital room. She looked impossibly small beneath the white blanket, and 4 lines disappeared beneath the sleeve of her pink sweatshirt. A heart monitor beeped steadily beside her bed while she forced a weak smile the moment she saw me. "I didn't mean to scare everyone," she whispered. Those were the first words out of her mouth. Not, "Where's Mom?" Not, "Am I okay?" She apologized. The nurse explained that Lily had suffered a severe reaction connected to a condition her doctors had been monitoring for months. She would recover, but the next 24 hours were critical. I stepped into the hallway and called Melissa. She answered after 3 rings. Behind her I could hear laughter, music, and waves crashing against the beach. "Hey, what's up?" "Lily's in the hospital." Silence. Then, what happened? I explained everything as clearly as I could. There was another pause. Finally, she sighed. "Is she dying?" "What?" "Melissa, no, but the doctor said." "So she's stable?" "Yes, but they want family here." "I am family." "Then come home." Another long pause. "I just got here yesterday." I honestly thought she hadn't understood me. "Melissa, your daughter is in a hospital bed." She let out an irritated breath. "Rachel." Then she said the sentence that would echo through the next several months. "You're overreacting. She'll be fine." I stared through the hospital window into Lily's room. The welcome banner was still rolled inside my tote bag. The paper crane she had folded for me was tucked safely inside my wallet. Everything we had prepared for Melissa's return suddenly felt like decorations for someone who had already decided not to come. I lowered my voice one last time. "The next flight leaves at 10:55 tonight." "I already checked." She laughed softly. "You seriously looked up flights?" "Yes. I'd lose almost $3,800 if I leave now." For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she added, almost casually, "Besides, you're there. She doesn't need both of us." In that moment, standing under the harsh fluorescent lights outside room 417, I realized something I should have understood years earlier. Melissa hadn't chosen between money and inconvenience. She had chosen between her vacation and her daughter. And she didn't think anyone would dare tell her she had chosen wrong. The next 3 days changed our family more than the previous 30 years ever had. Lily remained in the hospital until Thursday at 11:10 a.m. She recovered steadily, but what stayed with me wasn't the 4 lines or the medication schedule. It was how quickly she stopped asking when her mother would arrive. By the second morning, she simply smiled whenever a nurse came into the room and quietly folded another paper crane from a napkin. "I'll give this to Mom when she gets back," she said. There wasn't a trace of anger in her voice. Only hope. Somehow, that hurt more. Melissa finally returned home on Friday evening, exactly as her original vacation itinerary planned. Instead of coming straight to the hospital, or later, to my apartment where Lily was resting, she posted vacation photos online with the caption, "Much needed reset. Grateful for every moment." When relatives questioned her, she dismissed everything with the same familiar line. "Rachel's overreacting. Lily was fine." That was the moment I stopped trying to convince people. I typed one furious message. "You abandoned your daughter when she needed you most." I deleted it. Then another. "Don't ever expect me to cover for you again." Deleted. Finally, I sent only this. "Lily is recovering well. She deserves honesty, patience, and consistency. Whenever you're ready to give her those things, the door is open." She replied less than 2 minutes later. "You're still overreacting." I didn't answer. Instead, I focused on Lily. Every Saturday after that, we started a new tradition. We visited the botanical gardens with a small paper crane tucked into our pockets. At the end of each visit, we'd leave one folded crane beneath the old maple tree near the pond, not because we expected miracles, but because it reminded us that fragile things could survive if someone handled them gently. Months passed before Melissa appeared at my apartment without calling. I didn't rush to open the door. I finished washing the dishes, dried my hands, and let her wait. For the first time in our lives, the conversation moved at my pace instead of hers. She tried guilt. She tried saying everyone had misunderstood. Neither worked. Finally, her shoulders dropped. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Then she asked quietly, "Does Lily still trust me?" It was the first honest question she had asked in years. I told her there was only one condition before we talked about forgiveness. "The apology isn't for me," I said. "It's for your daughter. If you want a relationship with her again, start there." Melissa nodded. Later that afternoon, she and Lily sat alone together in the living room for nearly an hour. I never listened at the door. Some conversations deserve privacy, especially when they've been delayed for far too long. I only know that when Melissa left, the paper crane Lily had been carrying was resting carefully in her mother's hands. Today, more than a year later, our family still gathers every first Saturday of the month at the botanical gardens. No one has a permanent seat of honor anymore. Melissa comes when she can, brings homemade sandwiches instead of excuses, and never leaves without folding at least one paper crane with Lily. People sometimes ask whether I regret confronting my sister. I always think back to 7:42 p.m., room 417, and that little blue paper crane still tucked inside my wallet. Because I learned that night that love isn't measured by who promises to come home. It's measured by who actually does.